Hello, denizens. This video comes by way of a discussion that took place on Midnight's Edge in the morning that included my good friends Andre, Tom, Chris, and Scribe. A very interesting notion bubbled up to the surface, that being entertainment between streaming and movies has become this ill-defined mess that has resulted in blurring the differences between TV and movies, making TV less like TV and movies more like TV, less special. Okay, that's a lot to take in. Let me explain by going back to my favorite topic, network TV, when it was actually an important part of our lives. Back then, TV and movies were easily, recognizably two different mediums. You watched TV at home and movies in a theater. Yes, that is the kind of brilliant philosophical arguments you expect from me. But there is more. TV was ostensibly cheaper entertainment in how it was made and how we received it, especially if you were using an antenna. Say that 10 times. It was repetitive, simpler, with less of an emphasis on big ideas. As I like to say, it was about bringing friends into your living room. Sure, James Garner was a movie star, but that's not how we saw him as Rockford. Same with Lucy, Laverne and Shirley, J.R. Ewing, Mannix. I mean, I could go on. They were friends we were happy to see weekly. And whatever problems that beset them on any given episode, everything was reset to equilibrium by the time Michael Post's music kicked in. Unless, of course, it was one of those errand-spelling, schlocky, brightly lit primetime soaps. But movies were different. They were special. They had big stars that you wouldn't find normally on TV unless they were at the end of their careers, or it was sweeps week and a show needed a big guest star to boost the ratings. But for the most part, the twain rarely met. So you see where I'm going with this? TV and movies were two very distinct products. They were recognizably different with two different goals. TV was made to sell product and movies to put bums in seats. Streaming added collecting subscribers while keeping churn to a minimum. Where did that model come from? Silicon Valley, of course. The people that gave us the blue screen of death were suddenly in the entertainment business. We fast forward to the present, and streaming has taken over from network TV to the point, I think, where most of us call streaming TV, because that's mostly where we watch it. Hell, more people watch YouTube on their TV than on their devices now. Then there is the money streamers have been throwing at their shows. Insane budgets with little to no understanding of what exactly the payback is. There was a time when the original Star Trek, back in the 60s, were told that they couldn't afford 3 phaser blasts and would have to cut it back to just 2. Could you imagine what TOS would have done with the Acolyte's budget? Actually, we would have been happy, just happy if Star Trek Discovery didn't produce dog shit with their budget. Of course, technology has changed. Netflix productions use the same equipment to shoot their shows as big budget movies do. Actors that usually show up on the bigger screen don't seem to have much of a problem in doing streaming shows. Chris Pratt has been in Prime's The Terminal List and most recently in Apple TV's interesting Electric State. I think many people will still consider him a movie star, but I can't but think it diminishes his stature somewhat. I don't know, you can tell me. What were Anya Taylor-Joy, Miles Teller, and Sigourney Weaver doing in that thing called The Gorge? And let's not get started, probably taking a paycheck. And let's not get started, about talking about Disney's abuse of their movie superheroes on Disney Plus streaming trash. Then we have the issue of movies just not being as special or as original as the ones we endlessly discuss. I'm not dissing modern filmmakers, but I don't see another Rain Man on the horizon, or Diner, or Tin Men. Wait, those were all Barry Levinson picks. And the new stuff just don't feel much like movies. When you sit down to watch Some Like It Hot, or Bus Stop, or The Sting, or La Dolce Vita, or Monsieur Hulot's Holiday, or Bridge on the River Kwai, they feel like a movie should, right from the opening titles and music. Is it a film versus digital thing? I don't know, perhaps. Tarantino gets it, but he still has not figured out what his 10th and last movie is going to be. In all honesty, I can see some new and interesting things bubbling up in the movie space. I don't watch as many movies as I used to, so I'm not so aware of maybe some of the best stuff out there, so you can help me with that also. But mostly by independence. Maybe Jojo Rabbit was the last thing I saw that I felt like, I would call a movie in the traditional sense. But I'm not seeing any David Lean Lawrence of Arabia's as much as people praise Andor. It was no Dr. Zhivago. And when a movie does hit the theaters, many end up on streaming within weeks. They've made streaming TV more like movies and made movies more like streaming TV. Actors are cross-pollinating to the point there are no more movie stars. It's all a big mess with little to no differentiation as to why we would watch a movie in a theater instead of at home. But what is the solution? I've already said it a dozen times. TV needs to bring back stuff that looks and works like TV. Self-contained stories that can be watched in any order with no penalty in missing a show. Spend less money on them and concentrate on characters and their relationships like they used to. Make TV TV again. Maybe that should be our rallying cry. Make TV TV again. Let me repeat that one of the most important aspects of the TV business was not the shows that made it to air, but the shows that didn't. The hundreds of pilots that would be commissioned and shot. You could make a living as an actor or writer never actually getting a show on TV. It was a place for writers to learn their craft, learn about failure, as if anyone needed more lessons than that. That is all gone. That's why the shows suck these days, and that's why we're not getting new blood into movies or as quickly as I think we should, because the TV development business was the creative farm team for all of Hollywood. It's where writers learn to write and directors learn to direct before moving on to film. That's gone. The budget of Rings of Power could kickstart the whole development industry again. So it's not impossible. The final thing I want to say is that the big brains in Hollywood have to get together and realize that with all the competing streaming services, they have created a terrible user experience. You use Uber, right? Your movie executives. Isn't it brilliant? Don't you think we would appreciate as an audience something as seamless and easy to use? I'll watch a trailer on YouTube and get excited about a show on a service I don't subscribe to. What a waste of time. You've turned the one platform with the broadest possible reach into a desert of reality shows and starved theaters of movies people might want to watch. What a great plan. While everyone is addicted to the digital soma of YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram, soma is a Brave New World reference, by the way. Yeah, I'm done. Well, I have discussed how streaming is killing Hollywood. It wasn't until now I realized how we've lost the separation of network TV and movies and how important that separation is. As Syndrome from The Incredibles said, once everyone is super, no one is super. I don't think anyone is having fun. We've lost the fun of shows like The A-Team, which did feature a former A-list movie star in George Peppard. Add to this all the DEI crap, and most everything coming out of Hollywood feels like it went through a very constricted sphincter. Fear is not going to rebuild the entertainment business. What do you think? Do you remember when TV and movies were distinct? Did that give you a reason to go to the movies? I look forward to your comments. Till next time, denizens, be seeing you.